Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my page, welcome to my platform. It's your host for today, True Lion, and we're here today to discuss the various events surrounding the decision made by CAF in regards to AFCON 2026. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday. And if you join the show, if you join the live view, please just share. We'll have a lot to talk about, go through the events, go through some of the rumors, facts. Basically, we'll try to separate facts from rumors so that you actually have an idea of what is going on. There's a lot of rumors out there. We do understand when things like this happen, so many people want to respond quickly. There's so much emotion. So you try to separate emotional discussion from what's actually happening. So while you join the conversation, please just share. It's so many things we have to unravel. The events of CAF AFCON 2025 that was held in Morocco, beautiful tournament. And the reason I'm going beyond just the actual decision, beyond the finals, is because I want to give some perspective. The events that actually led us to this current situation. I'm talking about games like Morocco versus Cameroon, where the officiating was actually very, very poor. In fact, games in which Morocco actually played or took part, most of the decisions that we saw, when it was towards Morocco, we did not see VAR. There are incidents when Buemo was brought in the box and everybody thought it was a penalty. However, even if it's not a penalty, let VAR follow due process. Elbows in the game where we thought Morocco should have maybe gotten a yellow card, or maybe taken to a red card. And the reason why we say these things is because I want to put you guys in the mindset of those who actually watch this competition. You know, so many irregularities, and that's where I have accused Morocco for once. And most people ask, why only Morocco? Under the leadership of Motsepe, we have witnessed three African Cup of Nations. The one in Cameroon, where everybody praised the referee, the one in Ivory Coast, where the praises were enormous, and the one in Morocco. Now, what is the common denominator in these three different competitions? CAF. Okay? In Cameroon, Cameroon was, the organizer. In Ivory Coast was the organizer. In Morocco, Morocco was the organizer, alongside CAF, of course. Now, why is the case of Morocco different? Why are we seeing so much irregularity when it comes to VAR with Morocco? Why not in Cameroon? Why not in Ivory Coast? Why Morocco? And in my opinion, I think Morocco has overstepped their bounds. And where I blame CAF is because CAF, there's not only one incident. CAF did not take enough measures to actually stop Morocco. We saw the towel incidents. We saw how Senegal arrived to play the finals, marred by irregularities around their delegation. CAF should have intervened a long time ago. thus telling Morocco that you must be in line. Now, let's go to the actual finals since I've given you guys perspective. The events on the field before leading to the major event. There was a disallowed goal where I think the ref blew his whistle too early. So he did not even give an opportunity for that decision to go to VAR. With all what I've said, the events that happened before, Senegal was obviously triggered. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just telling you how things unraveled. Was there a penalty against Senegal? Of course, there was a penalty. However, events leading to this, we saw the manager of Senegal, the coach who I have heavily criticized, told his team to leave the field of play. Now, this triggers Article 82 and 84, where he talks about abandonment of game. Some will say that the wordings of these bylaws talks about grounds and not the actual field of play. We can interpret it into what we think is actually, I mean, I'm talking as fans, the legal minds, also use a part of that article that says you deny the denial of play, which of course we do all agree that Senegal denied to play. However, the ref, backed up by Article 5.2 of IFA, takes the final decision, which he took the final decision by allowing Senegal to come back into play. He did not forfeit Senegal. Morocco did not also ask Senegal to be forfeited because it's in their right to tell the ref that they are not also willing to play because Senegal has forfeited. That did not happen. And the ref actually restarted the game. Morocco missed that penalty and the game went to the end. Senegal eventually won. The reason I am giving you these events is because I want to make sure that those who do not watch should try. You can go do some research and you will see all these events happening. I'm just trying to separate the noise from actuality. So, with all this said, okay, we see the game go to an end. Senegal is being awarded the trophy. And months after, we hear that the appeal committee has actually dethroned Senegal. Before that, there was a decision made by the disciplinary committee of the same organization, which is CAF. So we see two departments in CAF taking two different decisions. Motsepe has spoken about this, and he says this speaks to the independence of these organizations under CAF. You can go listen to a 6 minutes video that he actually put out there. And he talks most importantly about a legacy problem, one of the lack of trust in our football, in the African football. And that could be trust against ref, match officials, and hierarchy. The fans do not trust these various, departments, as Mosepe actually said in his speech. Then he goes ahead to give us how the members of these various organizations were actually picked or appointed into these various organizations. 54 member nations of CAF, divided into regions. CAF, under the leadership of Metsepe, made sure that every representative came out from these various regions. In the case of the appeal department, there are 9 members in total, led by Nigerian. And these guys are well vested in law. Okay? Although, when I did some research, I realized that most of them don't have sports management, in their CV, which is actually very important. However, I have also argued that CAF is just an image of African football because, regardless of what CAF is trying to do, they cannot go to the experienced organizations or continents like Europe, South America, maybe, and take maybe refs or members of associations, to come and manage their football. So we are dealing with products of our local leagues. Now, I will ask myself, why are we not looking people at people who are already like in football, who have that experience? But again, Motsipe said he's trying something different, going into a different direction in order to build that trust. So we see these people are not experienced when it comes to football. Of course, although they are legal minds, and they come into a conclusion like the one we have in our hands. But keep in mind, FIFA, I'll give you a little story, okay? FIFA annulled the original decision of a game played between South Africa and Senegal in 2018 World Cup qualifiers, where South Africa had won 2-1. But FIFA judged that, or after research, realized that there was lots of irregularities in the refereeing, and the refereeing was found guilty of corruption. What did they do? Okay, in the offices, because I hear a lot of people say, oh, you cannot take decision in the offices. FIFA decided that game, that result could not stand, and that game was replayed. Of course, it's two different scenarios right now because FIFA, they have the time, these qualifiers play within 2, 3 years or something like that. But when you have a competition like the African Cup of Nations, that's just within 3 or 2 weeks or a month, there's time constraint. So certain things you cannot replay the game or you cannot take certain decisions. But I'm just trying to point to you that the game that was ruled in favor of South Africa, okay, went to the disciplinary or appeal committees, and CAS, or the Court of Arbitration and Sports, validated that game the results of that game should not stand. And the game was replayed where Senegal actually won by a score of 2-0. So what I'm trying to do here is trying to separate the noise from actually what happens, because a lot of people are using emotions. A lot of people are saying things that they don't know. There's another situation that happened in the African Club Cup competition where Esperance Tunis and Wydad of Casablanca played a game that VAR was not working when they went for the return leg. Esperance Tunis had scored a goal. Is it? I'm not. Wait. I'm not sure. I think. Well, Wydad, is it Wydad that scored a goal? I'm not really sure of the actual specifics. However, long story short is that the game did not end, and Wydad decided to walk off the pitch. The ref actually blew the game in favor of Esperance Tunis, and CAF said the game should be replayed. The game went to the Court of Arbitration, and the Court of Arbitration said no, that game cannot be replayed because the ref actually forfeited Wydad of Casablanca, and that's how Esperance Tunis actually won. So we see another case where the Confederation of African, the Court of Arbitration ruled against the referee's decision, being overturned. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here is make sure that some people don't just cry wolf, because I've also seen Senegalese Secretary General of the Federation come out and say there is corruption, you know. And I made a statement, in that regards, that we should stop crying wolf when we don't have proof that is corruption. Except he has proof. Let him bring the proof to show us that there was corruption. Of course, we do not agree, with what was decided that 2 months after you come on and try to change the results. In my opinion, I thought Senegal actually won, and that the Court of Arbitration would stand with Senegal and overturn this. But one thing I don't like is that we start making comments that we cannot verify, that we cannot prove, like corruption. Okay. It's easy. It's the lazy man's work to just cry wolf and say, those guys in that committee have been corrupted. Okay. Because we don't understand the rules, we don't understand the bylaws, we don't understand certain things. Of course, you can look at it and say, okay, logically, that committee, but they are guided by certain bylaws that we actually don't understand, that we cannot interpret, because we are not lawyers, we are not jurists. There are so many things that go into these decisions, and we should be careful when we say these things. I understand nowadays, in the new world of the social media and all that, we want to jump, on this news and be the first ones to say things, but we have to be careful, because even when you do verify, lots of footballers that play football and all that, when their opinions are being asked in these things, lots of them are using emotional judgments in order to come to a conclusion. Sometimes you just have to take your time, do some research, and see what the law says, how you can interpret it. But again, the decision made by the appeal committee, I think it's not the right decision. That's my opinion. I think it's not the right decision, because when I look at, the bylaws, of course, Senegal refused to play. However, the ref did not sanction or did not forfeit Senegal. He allowed the game to restart, and the game went to an end where Senegal was crowned champions. And I think because of that, the Court of Arbitration and Sports will stand with Senegal. Okay? There is a guy by the name Raymond Harp who is very versed. I listened to him, and he made this argument, the same argument. Okay? There are many other people that I've listened to that have made the same argument. And when I'm talking about the same argument, is that they are going through, these bylaws, and they are explaining to you logically. I mean, these are legal minds explaining to you why, although Senegal, did something that all football organizations, I'm talking CAF, FIFA, UEFA, frown against, you cannot abandon the game. And if that referee had decided at that moment to award the game to Morocco by forfeit, that would have been the right decision. However, due to some reason, I don't know why, maybe he was looking to finish the game, maybe he was guilty due to some calls that were made, I cannot put a finger on it. But he decided, or Morocco was so confident because had Morocco also said that, hey, ref, Senegal forfeited, we don't want to continue to play, the ref would have sided with them. But they did not do that. And we know what happened after that. So I do understand the majority of fans who want Senegal to win so bad. But let's just be careful when we name anything, everything under the sun, you know, as corruption. Because a lot of people that are saying corruption, corruption, they going after Mutsepe. And I keep asking you guys, three African Cup of Nations, three different countries. The constant has been CAF, African Cup of Nations. The refereeing in Cameroon was wonderful. More money made, more sponsors. We went to Ivory Coast, the prize money doubled. We came to Morocco, the prize money doubled. So all the success with the club successes that we've had at the club level under Motsepe. Some people want to paint Motsepe as a bad guy. It's a legacy problem. It's a legacy problem. And these things actually happen in football. We saw Lille in 2007 against Manchester United, where they contested that a free kick was played without the referee actually blowing his whistle. I remember those incidents. Lille almost walked off the field. The game was disrupted. We did not see a forfeit. Okay. UEFA came back and granted the right, and the 1-0 score in favor of Manchester United actually stood. We have seen different instances, as I explained, with FIFA. So why must we all the time cry wolf, 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 and try to give CAF a bad name all the time just because something actually went wrong? I've stated incidences like Manchester City, Chelsea, irregularities in the EPL. The PMOL has said there have been 18 mistakes by VAR in the EPL this season. Why are we not saying maybe that the chief of the of the FA is actually corrupt? Why don't we hear names? Okay, this is just because when it comes to certain things, in our football, just because the media is not matured enough, and we hear so many different backlash, especially from the international media. That's where they want to put the African Cup of Nations. That's where they want to put CAF. When we had all that beautiful refereeing in when we played in Cameroon and Ivory Coast, excellent VAR, we did not hear so much noise about what CAF was doing. That was very good. But as soon as there's a mistake, everybody wants to lynch CAF. And yes, going to the Court of Arbitration and Sports, it will be a long process, 6 to 12 months. Yeah, 6 to 12 months. It's going to be a long process, But as I said, Morocco forfeited their rights to actually nail Senegal. But some guilt, because they should be held responsible. I don't know what their FA is doing, but look we've not seen any Moroccan player come and make a statement. Why? They feel guilty. They don't want part of that. They don't want that trophy. I assure you, they don't want that trophy because as a sportsman, you lost on the field. You lost. Of course, you had opportunities to win on the field, but you did not take them. You lost on the field. So why is this issue actually going? Why is the federation, the Moroccan Football Federation, actually pursuing this issue until they are trying to humiliate the whole organization? It's a bad look for Morocco. CAF also has to deal with the issue. They also have a part, the blame goes around. Senegal also, because I've said this over and over, you cannot abandon a game. That's bad. A lot of kids are watching and all that. And when I criticized the Senegal manager, a lot of guys, you guys came, for my neck. But I stand by it. You cannot act like this. You cannot show such leadership. And if not of cool minds like Claude Leroy and I saw also Diouf, who told Mani to tell his guys to get back on the pitch. Would they even have that? Would they even have had that opportunity to win the game? They wouldn't have had that opportunity to win the game. Okay. So it's a dangerous precedent. And I see that's why CAF is maybe trying to hammer Senegal, but you cannot also promote a precedence of which you want to hand the trophy, to Morocco. You should have stopped that game. You should advise your refs to stop that game and forfeit Morocco when the whole world is actually watching. Okay, but CAF knew, the fans were not happy. Fans were not happy. Nobody was comfortable, And as I said, VAR went silent when it came to incident that did not favor Morocco. That's where I think Morocco actually went over the board. And that's where CAF did not look to rectify that issue. And I also did some research where I saw that the head of refs that was in charge African Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast and Cameroon was not the same. That guy was let go for the current one who is actually from the Congo DR. And when I sometimes criticize our local leagues, people think I'm taking it too far. Well, let's talk about the Congo DR League. How good are they? How many times do they actually resolve such issues? Why are we seeing so many irregularities when it comes to VAR? And when VAR actually did a better job in Cameroon and Morocco. Of course, I did tell you about the new guy that's in charge of the ref. So he should be looked upon. And one thing that also caught my attention, CAF did not sanction the ref. That whistled the final. So you don't sanction the ref that whistled the final, which means you are happy with the job that he did. So why do you overturn his decision? If you are happy with the job that he did, why do you overturn his decision? So these are questions, that we should ask ourselves when it comes to the current saga. A lot of people are trying to blame Mosepe. Mosepe should resign, this, and that. But those people who now are calling the name of the late Issa Hayatou. You remember Issa Hayatou was in charge of CAF for over 40 years. Those people don't even know some of the scandals that happened. Because some of those guys, I look at them, I look at their age and all that. I know some of these people actually arguing. They're just going off the moment. The moment. They are not thinking about the scandals that actually have happened in the 2000s, where a lot of people were saying that Egypt had a lot of power since the headquarters of CAF is in Egypt. Egypt had lots of influence. And we saw Egypt won maybe 3-4 African Cup of Nations. They also talked about Cameroon because Hayatou was in Cameroon. So there are a lot of things. When someone is in management, of course, at that moment, we can criticize, which is not bad, but let's be logical. Let's be logical. Okay? You cannot ask the head of someone that has seen, is trying to kick out corruption, trying to build trust. These things happen, with time. You don't just get into an organization that has been corrupt for quite a long, long time and then think overnight things will be fixed. Things don't get fixed overnight. It takes time. And one of the reasons why I support Motsepe is because He is communicating very well. When there's a problem, he comes, he tries to explain the processes. That's the type of leadership I like. That's my opinion. I don't know about you, but that's the type of leadership that I like. You know, coming from Cameroon, a lot of people don't even get these explanations. When something happens, you take it. You take it or you take it. You don't have a choice. They don't even come and explain what's going on. You know, it's a one-way street. Okay. How many times did you see Isayatu come on giving explanations of decisions that were taken? We know the scandal. And this is a guy, Isayatu. I remember when he ran for president of FIFA against the former guy that was Sepp Blatter. How many Africans voted for him? I think just about three. Even his own compatriot, Samuel Eto'o, did not support him. Roger Milla was against him. They were all for Sepp Blatter. Yet today, everybody wants to say, oh, Issa Yatu, this, and that. You know, it's being hypocrites. Okay, that's my opinion. You know, that's my opinion. I think when there's a problem, it also brings an opportunity to learn and grow and do better. You know, that's the challenge. But keep in mind, in my opinion, I think Senegal should be the rightful winner. And that the appeal committee, you know, should not come to such a conclusion. Because they're just promoting, you know, bad habits. Morocco should be ashamed of themselves. They are not fair play at all. Morocco is not fair play at all. From what happened, from the towers, the incidences of the towers. And a lot of people are saying, why don't you sanction those guys? Come on. I mean, how many times, if you go to the rule book of the African Cup of Nations, I mean, how many times does it rain where a towel is not part of, you know, the equipment of the play? So when these things happen, you know, the rules and regulations, the bylaws maybe have to be, you know, adjusted in order to, you know, prevent such things from happening in the future. Like I said, I remember it was the African Cup of Nations in Burkina Faso, where legendary goalkeeper who was then coach of the Cameroon goalkeeping crew was arrested, handcuffed, just before the game, just to play with, you know, the minds of the Cameroonian team. Yeah, he was arrested. I think that was in a semi-finals or quarterfinals. You know, so these things actually do happen in football. You know, before this in African football, there are so many things that you, the fans watching it on TV, don't see. But we all need to look into one direction, work together in order to make the game better, you know. But we cannot just say, oh, CAF, CAF, CAF. No, these refs are coming from our local leagues. CAF doesn't work in a vacuum. There are 54 member nations. What are those various 54 member nations doing in order to make their leagues better? Are they investing money? Are they trying to take advantage of the programs that FIFA now has? We see Cameroon is supposed to go play in Australia, a 4-team group, 2 games in a competition organized by FIFA. You know, when that favors us, we don't praise FIFA. But that's when you see Infantino, maybe now with Motsepe handing the cup, you know, the African Cup of Nations, people start talking about interference. Oh, FIFA. Oh, Infantino. You know, he's a puppet to FIFA. But when FIFA gives you money, you say, "Oh yeah, we are." Come on now, come on now. I think there's a lot of things that we have to learn, and the only way we can learn is by consuming football the right way, is by trying to make our local leagues better. Everybody has, you know, a role to play, and of course, this is a setback to African football. I can, you know, say otherwise. It's a setback. Nobody wants this type of thing happening. But as I said, under Motsepe, We've seen CAF in Cameroon. We've seen African Cup of Nations in Cameroon, very successful on all aspects of the game. We've seen African Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast, very successful in all aspects of game. We've seen African Cup of Nations in Morocco, very successful in most aspects of the game, and not all. With that said, I think Musipe is doing a very, very good job. It's just a matter of time before we actually get where we are supposed to be because Africa actually deserves better, you know. But if all of those who have a stake in the game don't start looking into one direction, then it's going to be a problem. Thanks for watching 19.5. Let me know what you guys actually think about this. There's so many things that I want to talk about, but I think basically I covered most, of the things I wanted to talk about today. And have a great day. Hope you guys are enjoying the game.